Next, we have the Royal Rumble.
Rumble.
It is January 21st of 1996. And in the first match, we get Jeff Jarrett versus Ahmed Johnson. I gotta say, I don't like Jeff Jarrett's attire at this point.
No.
Really don't.
Ahmed actually hits a good spine buster this match. Because the past few weeks, he had been absolutely laying out some bad spine busters.
Yeah, he did hit a good one this time. There was one spot I hated in this match was when they're trying to make, I guess you call it a Hulk up spot with Ahmed Johnson.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett keeps hitting him, and then Ahmed Johnson just runs in place every time Jarrett hits him until Ahmed Johnson's up and does what he does.
I didn't care for that at all.
Yeah, it just looked dumb. But at one point, Jeff Jarrett gets his guitar and jumps off the top rope with the guitar, and he hits Ahmed Johnson solid with that guitar.
Actually drills him square in the head with that guitar. He recovers quite quick, and then he chases Jarrett.
Yeah, I did also note that he got up really quick from a guitar shot. Usually they sell that as like a shotgun blast, you know?
I don't know if it was back. Well, yeah, I think back then even so, but like even later, Jarrett, like you could hit that guitar, it's over.
As with Jeff Jarrett, you always want to see someone get hit with a guitar. They did it here, and it looked really good too, so that's good. But also, Ahmed Johnson gets the win because they want to build him up. Again, this is the last time we see Jeff Jarrett until he comes back at some point in 97, 98.
If he was leaving a contract dispute, Vince McMahon, you think Vince McMahon would have made him get pinned?
Yeah, you would think. But after the match, we have a backstage interview with Diesel. He says people wonder where his head's at. He says he doesn't know what to expect, but he's going to have the time of his life. And Diesel says he looked at his watch, and it doesn't say Vader time. It says Diesel time. Diesel was feeling himself during this promo, and the lines weren't great. That wasn't a great line.
He was feeling himself.
But then we go to our second match, which is the Body Donnas versus the Smoking Guns. This is the first time we see Zip. I mean, it may have been on Saturday show, but I'm talking about Raw or pay-per-view. It's the first time we see Zip. And of course, Sonny is accompanying the Body Donnas, and she says they're the premier tag team in the WWF. There was a funny point in this match where Bart Gunn chops Tom Pritchard, and Mr. Perfect is on commentary, and he says, "That'll rearrange your nipple." There are some really good spots in here. At one point, Skip hit a really good clothesline on Bart. But of course, the Body Donnas are the heel team at this point. Smoking Guns are playing face. Body Donnas try to cheat by having the other guy in, but it doesn't work out. They kind of do the Bella switcheroo.
The Bella swap.
But anyways, it ends up with Bart getting the pin for the win, so they retain the tag team championship. Now, the tag team division for WWF at this time is really weak. In fact, the top three teams right now are Smoking Guns, Body Donnas, and the Godwins, if that tells you anything. Mm-hmm. But next, we get a highly anticipated matchup, Goldust with Marlena. This is Marlena making her debut with Goldust versus Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title. Before the match even starts, Goldust is gyrating towards Razor. Of course, throughout the match, Goldust does sexual things to Razor. Starts grabbing his chest and rubbing his hands all over it. He starts rubbing Razor's head. He's just doing everything he can to get involved. Eventually, the Razor starts slapping Goldust around, and then he also slaps Goldust. He slaps him on the rear end, and Goldust seems to like that a lot.
It's pretty funny.
This is a pretty good match. I think most people should probably check it out just for the spectacle of it. Eventually, Marlena does blow glitter at Razor Ramon. Now I can't see. And there's one point in the match after that happened that Goldust had Razor Ramon in a sleeper hold, and the announcers wonder what would happen to Razor if he passed out. What would Goldust do to him? I was like, hey, chill out, fellas. But later on, Marlena distracts the ref again by pretending that her ankle was injured. And during the distraction, the 1-2-3 Kid comes out and he hits Razor with a top rope spin kick. And then Goldust covers Razor for the win. And he is the new Intercontinental Champion.
Okay, match.
It was okay. It was more, you're just more wanting to see what is Goldust going to do to provoke Razor and what is Razor going to do in response. But it served its purpose. Now Goldust has some gold. And also we continued the 1-2-3 Kid versus Razor feud. The build for this goes for a while before we get to see Razor get some revenge.
And the match they have, well,
I know. And after this match, we go to video of the Shawn Michaels doctors saying he is 100% healed, which I thought was funny because I think in one of the videos a few weeks ago, they said he had like a 10%.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like not even 2 weeks ago, they're like, oh, this guy might never, I would advise him not to wrestle. And I'm like, oh, no, he's good. Yeah, I put on here, they were making it just a few weeks ago, seeming like a sneeze could kill him. Next up is the Royal Rumble match. Number one is
Triple H, he comes out first. At the free-for-all, there was a match to determine who's the number 1 participant and the number 30 participant. And Triple H lost the match against Duke the Dumpster Droese because he got himself disqualified for using brass knucks.
And that meant Duke the Dumpster Droese was number 30. I thought that was so odd.
Yeah, what a letdown. I only mention that because they do end up having a small feud, so we'll talk about that. So the first two are also two people who had a feud not too long ago, is Triple H and Henry Godwin. So I thought that was interesting. WWE likes to do that sometimes with the first two. The Royal Rumble itself was a bit of a letdown because I haven't noted here that really only maybe 5 participants had a shot at this Royal Rumble. And that would have been Yokozuna, who is a stretch to say that, and Owen Hart is another one that's like, eh. Then Shawn Michaels, Vader, Diesel, and then maybe you could put British Bulldog in that category too.
And Vader doesn't even last long. I was a bit upset that he got eliminated so early.
Well, not only that, doesn't Shawn Michaels eliminate Vader and Yokozuna at the same time?
I believe so, yeah.
But legitimately, if you were at home, you were pretty much thinking to yourself, maybe even only 3. Diesel, Shawn Michaels, and Vader had a shot to win. And when you have 30 people in there and you only have 3 that have a shot, that's kind of makes for a bad Royal Rumble. But to no one's surprise, since they're trying to build up Shawn Michaels, he wins the match.
I do like the way he wins, though, with the switching music, and he knocks Diesel out.
Diesel, they play it up as if he's going to turn on Shawn, but he doesn't. He goes up into the ring and he does a high five with Shawn Michaels. And we had some questionable people in here too. Like, that tells you how bad it is. In this Royal Rumble, we have someone named Amari. Don't know who that is. Squat team member something. And then the other squat team member. Those 2 short fat guys. The ringmaster was supposed to last a lot longer in this Royal Rumble, but Stone Cold was supposed to have a skin the cat moment, but he didn't quite have a good grip of the rope and fell out. So, and he laughs about it to this day. But all right, now we go into the main event. It is The Undertaker versus Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. As Undertaker comes out, Diesel is walking back to the locker room. Diesel shoves Paul Bearer. And then the Undertaker doesn't like that, so he hits Diesel, and then Diesel and Undertaker get into a little brawl and have to be separated by officials. This is setting up their feud for WrestleMania, actually. Diesel tells the Undertaker that he is not afraid of the dark.
Or is he?
Yeah, the crowd is booing Diesel. They're not liking what he's been doing.
What a heel.
And for this match, we managed to melt those remnants down because the urn is back, okay? And the urn looks a lot better than a chain for that purpose, so I'm with it.
No. Bringing back the urn was the right call.
No matter how we get there. Bret Hart starts working on Undertaker's legs. For big men, you always got to work the legs. Bret Hart's smart.
Gotta work the legs. He's real tactical.
Which works out for Bret Hart because at one point Undertaker goes for the tombstone, but his leg is giving out on him. And then Bret Hart does a Russian leg sweep, but Undertaker sits right back up because, that ain't enough. And Bret Hart, actually, during this match, he knocks off the Undertaker's mask, and that's their way of being done with the mask. From here on, Undertaker's not going to wear the mask.
I did like that they actually turned it into, like, something in the ring, like, instead of just Undertaker just taking it off.
So we'll get to finish. Bret Hart jumps at Undertaker, and Undertaker catches Bret Hart, and then he tombstones him. So looks like he's about to win, but Diesel comes back out, and he pulls the ref out the ring, and the match is stopped, and Diesel looks pleased with his actions, and then he gives Undertaker the bird. Because it's starting to show off that attitude. Yeah. Diesel, he's not that corporate Diesel no more. This is setting up a match that people are interested in. I would like to see Diesel Undertaker, but to have a DQ or a no contest for the main event is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, that crowd must have been upset.
So we do not get a title change here. Undertaker chases after Diesel after the match, and that's how it ends. But if you're watching on a network, we also get a Royal Rumble Plus that airs after the Royal Rumble, which has Todd Pettengill interviewing Gorilla Monsoon, who says he has sanctioned a match for the WWF title at In Your House with Bret Hart versus Diesel. Yeah, we get a rematch, which the match they had where Bret Hart won. I thought that was a fantastic match.
Yeah, that was a good match.
And then we also get a Shawn Michaels interview. He says people didn't think he could win the Royal Rumble, but he did it. And he says the year is 1996, and it's going to be his year, essentially. And that he completed the first phase of his plan to win the title. And then Undertaker, he also has talked to Undertaker. He says it'll be a cold day in hell before Diesel wins the championship. So that tells you right now he's going to be involved in that Bret Hart versus Diesel match. Yeah. But Gorilla Monsoon says, you know what? I'm going to make that a cage match to keep the Undertaker out. Oh, okay. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, we'll see.
Diesel also has a video saying he's not afraid of The Undertaker, and he tells Shawn Michaels he's not afraid of him either. He says the WWF is now Diesel Federation, and I thought Diesel showed some good fire in this promo at the end.
Diesel power.
Yeah, Diesel power, baby. And to end the show, the Royal Rumble Plus thing, we go backstage and see Vader throwing a whole bunch of shit around because he's pissed. He got eliminated.
Upset.
All right, so that is the Royal Rumble.
Definitely one of the weaker Rumbles, honestly.
Yeah, as far as the Royal Rumble, yeah.
97, I believe, isn't too much better.
No, but we did get Goldust and Razor Ramon. That was a highlight, just for the spectacle of it. The Royal Rumble itself wasn't good, and then the title match was a DQ, so you're right. Not their best Royal Rumble.
2 matches hitting a DQ. Ahmed match also DQ.
Not their best effort. Some good story elements, but as a whole, not a good Royal Rumble. All right, so then we'll go to the January 22nd episode of both shows. We'll start with Nitro. Pepe outfit of the week. He's wearing a nice tuxedo, looking very fancy.
Yeah, he's got to class it up every once in a while.
And while the announcers are doing their laying down what's going to be on the show tonight, Conan comes out to the announce table and he says he is the Mexican heavyweight champion and he will put his belt on the line against Psychosis. And I believe this is the first time we see either one of them in WCW.
Yeah, this is like basically kind of the introduction to Lucha. As a kid, I loved Psychosis because of the WCW Nitro game. So it was nice to see Psychosis. Honestly, one of the worst things Vince did was take that mask off of him.
Yeah, but the first match for Nitro tonight is Macho Man, and he comes out with a lot of women, a ton of women. One of them in particular being woman. If people don't know, she's a manager. She was a manager for Kevin Sullivan and was his wife actually, and manager for Ric Flair before. But now she's coming out with a whole lineup of women, and she's included in there. And he's going against Ric Flair, and this is for the WCW Championship. And they put this on first. And when we get to Raw, I think I know why they put it on first. Because I believe the episode of Raw is taped, so they kind of knew what was going to happen. There's a reason why they put the WCW title first.
And so Hogan can once again main event.
Most importantly, Jacob. But before the match starts, Hogan comes out and he wishes Macho Man good luck. And he tells Macho Man his ladies blow flares out of the building. And after Macho Man wins, he wants the first title shot. And I believe Savage agrees. And then he says he's going to take the title off of Flair. Bischoff also tells us that tomorrow, because the next day will be Clash of Champions, Miss Elizabeth will be joining Hogan and Savage tomorrow. Ric Flair comes out and he tries to dance with his old manager woman, and he goes for a kiss, and then woman slaps the piss out of Flair. And for this one, we'll get to the end here. Macho Man goes for the elbow drop, but Jimmy Hart distracts the ref. And Arn Anderson comes out. This sounds familiar. Didn't this just happen? Yeah. And goes to hit Savage with the breast knucks, but Savage dodges it this time, and Arn Anderson hits Flair instead. So then Macho Man goes back up and hits the elbow drop this time and wins the match. So now he is the champion once again.
Yeah, so this is so weird. So because the bell rang before the pin, but then the ref still gets down and counts it, and then the bell rings again. The person who rang the bell, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I guess they thought it was going to be a DQ, but like obviously they were going for a title change. And honestly, if Flair was going to drop the belt already, why even do the title change? Like, why Savage should just cut the belt? I know it was to like get heat on Flair, but there are other ways to do that.
I guess want to build up Horseman versus Hogan and his squad. But yeah, I mean, Flair had the belt for what, 2 weeks maybe?
Something like that.
But whatever. Yeah, but it was very weird to hear the bell ring. Like, even when Macho Man's going up for the elbow drop, the bell's ringing. Like, it's weird. It's a mistake. This was not planned for it to happen that way, clearly, because they didn't really bring it back up. But after the match, we do get a post-match interview with Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. Savage says he has something to say to Hogan. He says, because Hogan is celebrating really like he just won the damn title. Yeah. He tells Hulk Hogan that you're celebrating like you just won the match, and he tells him to stop embarrassing himself by clowning around in the ring. So Macho Man's like done with Hogan's shit right now because he can see right through it. Hogan congratulates Macho Man on winning, but he tells Macho Man that you had some help from your best friend, and he wants the first shot at the title. Savage says if he can get himself to the number one spot, then he could have a match with him. And Hogan says, okay, I'll take care of One Man Gang tonight, and we'll do whatever it takes to get to be the number one contender. Savage says if Hogan does get to be the number one contender, and if Macho Man wins the match, which he probably will, as he says, I just like the way he said that. He says if he beats Hogan, he wants Hogan to shake his hand afterwards, and Hogan agrees to the terms. But the first match for Raw is Savio Vega versus Vader. This is Vader's debut one-on-one match for WWF. During Savio Vega's entrance, Jim Cornette takes a mic and he asks a simple question: what time is it? And then, of course, we get his Vader time, and he comes out. It seems like the male-dominated portion of the crowd loves Vader. Vader wins this match with a Vader bomb. After the match, Vader continues beating Savio down, and Vader bombs him again and then starts choking him. And then the ref tries to break it up, and Vader headbutts the ref and then throws him out the ring. So it looks like Vader is starting to lose it. He's going crazy.
Yeah, and then this other ref, he grabs and power bombs him. This rough power bomb. Looks brutal. It is awful because Vader does it near the ropes too, and it just looks like it absolutely folds this ref.
Probably does. But Gorilla Monsoon comes out because these refs are getting beat up. Vader, Gorilla Monsoon, he's the president, so you can't have that. So he gets in Vader's face and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What's wrong with you?" And then Monsoon is checking on the ring announcer, and then it's announced that Vader is suspended indefinitely, and Vader gets even more incensed, and he shoves Cornette down actually to get to Monsoon, and then Monsoon gets in Vader's face, and then eventually Gorilla Monsoon starts chopping Vader repeatedly because Vader keeps getting in Monsoon's face. After those chops, Vader's like, "You know what? All right, I'm going to do it." He attacks Monsoon, he knocks him down, and then elbow drops him. He closes out his temper tantrum by Vader bombing Gorilla Monsoon.
I liked how Monsoon gave Vader a little bit of old school with them chops.
Yeah, he said, "I'm not taking it no more. Chop, chop, chop." I don't know where Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon were this whole time, but eventually they come out and chase Vader away. And then we see Monsoon stretch it out.
Yeah,
this was a fantastic segment.
Like, I imagine fans the next day talked about this a lot.
Oh, yeah. This segment is why I think WCW went with the title match first, because this is a hot segment.
Yeah, they probably knew it was going to be the big talk about. So, yeah, so fans of both shows had something big to talk about. You got a title change, and you got the Monsoon segment.
I know WWF didn't do a great job with Vader, but I thought this was a fantastic, because this is the first time we see him on Raw, and you do this hot angle. He just beat up the president, get him stretched it out. Fantastic. We do get a backstage interview with Vader. Vader says he's going to war on every WWF superstar as well as Mr. McMahon, and he says someone else's name. I couldn't quite catch it. And then Vader continues to break more stuff backstage. So he is pissed. So two good angles from both shows to open up real solid. Title change and then the Vader segment. I mean, great stuff. So the second match on Nitro is Dean Malenko versus Brian Pillman. And Pillman slaps Dean Malenko sometimes, and it is solid connection.
Yeah. Brian Pillman out slapping.
So the finish is Malenko is like punching Pillman on the ring apron, but his like foot's like in between the ropes. And then Pillman hits Malenko and he falls over, but his leg gets stuck on the ropes. And Pillman goes into the ring and pins him, and the ref still counts it. How does that not count as a foot on the rope?
They're trying to sell it as a ref missed it, but if you rewatch it, you're like, there's no way.
But the thing is, I sent you a clip. The ref is staring at his leg.
Oh, I know. I think the ref did a bad job on it. I think he was intended not to see it. He just botched it.
Hated it.
Yeah, it was terrible. We'll go to Raw again. The second match for them is Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Razor Ramon. During the match, we see 1-2-3 Kid and DiBiase backstage. They're playing charades, and DiBiase makes a wah noise, and 1-2-3 Kid guesses Razor Ramon. So they're building up to this match they're going to have. But
Mr. Kid says, when a baby cries like Razor, you need to give it its bottle.
And they call Razor a crybaby. The crowd loves Razor Ramon. He's very over with the crowds. But during the match, 1-2-3 Kid comes out and puts a baby bottle in Razor's mouth, which of course pisses Razor off. He chases after the 1-2-3 Kid and is counted out. But it looks like Razor Ramon did not catch 1-2-3 Kid, because Razor Ramon comes back out and tries to get Triple H into Razor's edge, but Triple H gets out of it. Which I thought was weird that they had Razor come out just to not hit the Razor's edge.
Yeah, see, I was like, I thought he was going to hit it, but no.
And then we get another Billionaire Ted commercial. It says he's tired of stealing all the WWF's ideas and they should try to come up with one original idea. And then Scheme Gene tells them that he has an original idea, but they have to call the hotline. And then everyone in the boardroom calls that number.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
I liked it. And then after that, they show the Raw band. I was like, the Raw has a band now? Like, what? When did this come into play?
Let's go back to WCW, and we have the Harlem Heat, who are the tag team champions, versus Sting and Lex Luger in a WCW tag team title match. Sting's hair is starting to get a little brown. It's not that bleach blonde anymore, so we're starting to kind of grow the hair out. and get to Sting that everyone remembers. Jimmy Hart does come out to the ring during the match, and he hands something to Luger, and the ref is distracted by Jimmy Hart. Luger then hits Booker T with what is revealed to be a roll of silver dollars, and they're all over the ring too. And he pins Booker T, and now Sting and Lex Luger are the tag team champions. And Sting is celebrating after the match, even though the coins are all over the ring, and he doesn't seem to notice.
Yeah, I know. This was a bad night for official.
Because what they're going to build is that Lex Luger is okay with cheating, Sting isn't. That's what they keep building to. Sting is this honorable guy, and Lex Luger wants to win at any cost. And for a while, Sting tells Luger, I don't want to win that way, but it seems like he's okay with it here. Anyways, they do win the tag titles, so now you get Sting, Lex Luger being tag champions, so now the tag division is bumped up a little bit.
Harlem Heat's good. It was a good match. Harlem Heat's obviously a good tag team, but yeah, it was time for a title change. Because they weren't doing anything with the Harlem Heat. They weren't involved in storylines. The only thing they were involved in was Sherry and Rob Parker.
Even when I'm watching, they're underutilized. Great matches. All the matches are good. I love it when Booker T hits the Harlem sidekick. He is a great, especially WCW. He is a great in WWF too, and WWE, but he has some real good elevation in WCW. So we have that. So that's a big moment there. And that is going against Shawn Michaels in ring interview. Shawn says that he told everyone that HBK is back, and he says he has a 3-step program. 1, win the Royal Rumble. Check. 2, win the title at WrestleMania. And 3, something that the Clique has to work on. I don't remember exactly what they have to work on. But then Shawn also talks about how him and the Clique are going to take care of the 9 chumps who jumped him in due time, and he's going to get to Owen Hart as well. During this, Shawn Michaels is trying pretty hard to be cool. I think he's trying a bit too hard.
Yeah, Shawn is trying so hard at this time. He really wants to be Razor Ramon or Savage.
Yeah, which Shawn can be cool. When DX, he's cool. He doesn't seem to be trying too hard.
Yeah.
And there are times in 95 and before where he's cool when it's not forced. But I think he knows he's the guy, or going to be the guy, and he's trying so hard to get fans with him. Which, I mean, fans are with him, but they will get tired of him. But anyways, during Shawn Michaels' promo, Cornette comes out, and he tells Shawn that if he wants a rematch with Owen Hart, he's got to talk to him first.
He says no reason for Owen Hart to give him another match.
And then Shawn Michaels responds saying he would do anything to get another match with Owen Hart. Cornette likes the sound of that, and he tells Shawn that he could face Owen Hart if he puts his title shot on the line. Shawn just won that, and he wants to be champion. That's his dream.
He wants that title shot. Yeah, he wants that shot.
So Shawn asked the Clique how bad do they want Owen Hart, and they, of course, cheer, and he tells the Clique if they want it, they got it. They're trying really hard to make the Clique be this thing, and it's awful.
His fan base, the Clique is top. It's cringe, honestly.
Yeah, and there's some really bad videos with this later that I hope you get to see. So then Shawn tells Cornette that he will do to Owen what he's going to do to Cornette, and then he tosses Cornette out of the ring so Shawn Michaels can get his dance on.
Yeah, and Vince is obviously like yucking it up.
And before the main event, for that, we get Diesel vs. Bulldog announced for next week's Raw. All right, so we'll go to main event time, and the main event for WCW is One Man Gang versus Hulk Hogan.
And so you can tell by the star power in this match, this deserved to go on first or last instead of Savage and Flair for the title.
I mean, clearly, Jake, you have One Man Gang is the United States champion, Jacob. This is a typical Hogan match. Zodiac comes out, and Hogan takes care of him. Benoit comes out. He gets punched down. One Man Gang gets punched. Savage comes out. It's a whole overbooked fest at the end. Savage and Hogan clear out the ring. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. Hogan won. Typical Hogan match. Leg drop. Boom. Yeah, that's it. Special. Savage and Hogan clear the ring of all those guys I mentioned. And then the Giant comes out, but is restrained once again at ringside by, I think, both the Horsemen and Dungeon of Doom and Zodiac. Because Pillman is there, and he's encouraging, he wants the Giant to do it, whereas everyone else is telling the Giant to wait till tomorrow because they have a match with him tomorrow. The Giant is pissed. He's yelling at Hogan and Savage, telling them that they're going to pretty much beat them tomorrow. And then we get to the final part of the show, which is an in-ring interview with Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. Hogan says One Man Gang was the first step, and he would do whatever it takes to be the number one contender.
I think it's funny that the top guys in the company are talking about this is the first step. Like Shawn Michaels just did his 3-step system or whatever, and now Hogan's talking about it, so I thought that was funny.
Tell you, they steal from one another so much. Hogan then continues, said he is thankful for his secret weapons tomorrow.
And that secret weapon is?
Miss Elizabeth. Also, Kevin Green.
Yay.
Of course, if you don't know Kevin Green, he is a football player, legitimately a good football player. Mongo was too, but Kevin Green, I believe, is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Panthers legend. It's still crazy that he died.
I know, right? Macho Man says tomorrow history will be made, and the Giant and Ric Flair are meet. And then they both end with a double oh yeah. I also don't like the double oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's that for Nitro. Let's go to the main event of Raw, and we have Goldust versus Bret Hart. So this is Intercontinental Champion versus WWF Champion. No belt on the line, but we do get a pre-recorded video of Goldust saying that he had an Oscar-winning performance last night, and more gold is his. He says people are wondering what his next move is, and he says Bret Hart will find out in the ring. During this match, Goldust tries to leave, but Razor comes out and punches Goldust and brings him back to the ring. Yeah, I don't know how it wasn't a DQ.
Yeah, how is this not in full? Like, was he not supposed to punch? I'm assuming he wasn't supposed to punch Goldust. He was just supposed to drag him into the ring.
Mm-hmm. And the ref had to be looking. It wasn't like he was distracted.
I'm assuming the punch wasn't meant to happen, and that's why they just kind of didn't address this DQ.
But Bret Hart gets Goldust with a Russian leg sweep and then sharpshooter for the win. And he was a little bit arrogant with his sharpshooter. He waved bye-bye right before he turned Goldust over.
I thought that was funny.
I liked it. He's like, all right, bye-bye.
You tap out now.
Bret Hart does have a little bit of a shiner going on. I'm not quite sure where he got that from.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe from the match yesterday. I don't remember a specific spot, though, where he got hit. But after the match, we do have an in-ring interview with Bret Hart. Hart says he wants to make something really clear. Says he was robbed of a decision by Diesel, and says they will never know what would have happened last night because of Diesel. Says Diesel has been a thorn in his side, and he wants to finish Diesel. So then he turns his attention to The Undertaker, and he tells The Undertaker that he will give The Undertaker a rematch. I did note that the odd thing they did during this interview is that Bret Hart's music was playing in the background while he was speaking during his interview. Weird. So that is that. I actually think for this episode, we do get the title change. We actually get 2 title changes on WCW.
I still have this on WCW.
Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty good episode of Raw, especially when you compare it to what's happened already. And the Vader angle was huge, but WCW do get the 2 title changes with the tag team title and the WCW title. So yeah, I think I would get the WCW as well, but this one is certainly a much better effort from WWF than they put up.
Yeah, WCW's taking WWF to the wood chipper right now.
WWF at least put up a fight this week. But let's go to Clash of Champions, which was on a Tuesday. We see a replay of the title changes from the night before, and we are going to be doing this throughout the show. We see Mean Gene at a wedding chapel because today is the wedding of Rob Parker and Sister Sherry. So we got to look forward to that. But the first match is Public Enemy versus the Nasty Boys. I don't care about either one of these teams, so both of them are brawling teams, and it's kind of gets boring a little sometimes when 2 brawling teams face each other. The match ends in disqualification after the Nasty Boys throw Rocco through a table. They continue brawling afterwards. Public Enemy eventually gets the better of them after the match, and Rocco Rock moonsaults Knobs on a table, but it doesn't break. But it's just a brawling match. I didn't care for it much at all.
I mean, fans seem to like it, so...
Yeah, just wasn't for me. Then we have a ramp interview with Flair and Giant. He gets asked about how does he feel losing the title. Flair says, being in the big city and all the ladies, the title loss doesn't hurt him that much. And then he also puts over his tag team partner. He says, girls tell him that they fantasize about him, but when they think about the Giant, they giant-size about him.
So you can fantasize, you can giant. Awful.
And then Giant tells Flair that if Flair tags him in, it's all over but the crying. Not a good promo here from either one.
No.
We'll get into the next match. The second match is Dean Malenko versus Alex Wright. They show on the Saturday show that Malenko wrestled Alex Wright and he wouldn't let go of the Texas Cloverleaf, and that's why we're getting this match again. This is actually a pretty good match, which Malenko matches are usually pretty good, and Alex Wright isn't bad.
The match I mentioned that there's a questionable 3 count is because like he kicks the injured leg of Wright, and then he rolls him up, flip bridge, and then the ref looks like he counts, but it looks like Alex Wright kicks out, but the ref still gives it a 3 count, and he raises Malenko's hand. Alex Wright is pretty good. I feel like they didn't do as much as they could have done with him. I love the dancing Alex Wright. So we're going to get that soon. One
spot I liked is Alex Wright hits a huge superplex on Dean Malenko, and Dean Malenko gets thrown right around the ring with that. We'll move on to the next match. It is Taskmaster with Jimmy Hart versus Disco Inferno. We were supposed to have this match. What happens is an Elvis impersonator comes out eating a peanut butter banana sandwich, which I think is something Elvis actually liked.
That was like his favorite sandwich type of thing.
He grabs the mic and says he is delivering a singing telegram to the Taskmaster from Disco Inferno.
Mind you, he is doing a horrible Elvis impression, and that is probably one of the easiest impressions to do, and he is absolutely terrible at it.
Yes, it is. It's not good. A crowd is hating this. But Taskmaster doesn't want to hear the singing telegram, just like no one else does. So he beats up the telegram guy. Thank you. And in case anyone's interested, the telegram said that Disco is at the Sister Sherry and Colonel Parker wedding.
But so as Sullivan is putting the boost to this guy, the bell rings, so it makes it seem like a match is happening, but then it just doesn't.
Making a lot of mistakes lately.
Yeah.
But after that, no match there, we go to Mean Gene. He's at the chapel. He says the couple has not shown up yet, but Colonel Parker's clients, Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater, show up, and they say they have not seen Colonel Parker lately. Uh-oh, is he getting cold feet? We'll see. So then next we go to an interview with Lex Luger. Bischoff asks Lex Luger about the controversy in his tag team title win last week, and Luger asks, what controversy? I love it when Luger plays more of the narcissistic characters, in which he's starting to get into that with what he's doing here. He's like, wait, I don't know what you're talking about. Cheat. We just won fair and square. He calls Sting and himself the tag team of the 90s.
I always loved it when Sting and Luger came out, and Luger would like dap fans up, but as soon as like when Sting was looking, but when Sting wasn't looking away, he would like heel it up and like ignore the fans. Mm-hmm. Then Sting would turn around again and he would dap us.
Oh yeah, dude, that was hilarious. Yeah, that was perfect. I think I forgot to mention it. The night before, a Legion of Doom was announced to be back in this show. They're going to come back and have a match.
Which is because if people don't know, Animal was hurt for like quite a while, and Hawk was wrestling singles matches on Nitro. So this is official return of the Road Warriors.
Yeah. So the reason I mentioned that is because the Road Warriors come out. And Animal tells Sting that it's good to see him and good to be back in WCW, but business is business, and he tells Sting and Luger that they need to beat the most powerful tag team in the world. Sting says he's all for it, he loves competition, but Luger interrupts saying, as the new champs, they have to give Harlem Heat and other teams a title shot ahead of the Road Warriors because the Road Warriors have been gone for a while, so they need to get back into things. And then Hawk responds by telling Luger that Animal's back is larger than Luger's rack.
I like that. I do like that.
And they have an annual beatings quota and are a little bit behind, and they want their shot. But this builds you up because you don't want to rush into Road Warriors versus Sting and Lex Luger. So they're going to build that. And that's a match people want to see. So we had that. And then afterwards, we have a Paul Orndorff interview, pre-recorded. Orndorff is wearing a neck brace because remember he got jumped by the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, the power driver on exposed concrete.
He says his arm is going numb and is weakening, which is true. It wasn't because of that attack, but it is true. He says doctors recommend he gets a surgery that would end his career. He says this has come at the worst time of his career because he was getting confident again, and it was only a matter of time before he had a belt around his waist again. He tells the Horsemen he's from the old school where you earn respect, and he says the Horsemen do not know the true meaning of respect, and that the Horsemen are just mad at him because he turned them down and didn't want to join their gang. He says he knows it was not an accident that the Horsemen tried to end his career, and he warns the Horsemen that they haven't seen the last of Mr. Wonderful. But after that, we go back to Mean Gene at the chapel. We see Gary Spivey there. Yay, Psychic Network. Gene says both Sherry and Colonel Parker have not shown up. But right as he says that, Colonel Parker shows up, and he's flustered, and he tells Mean Gene he needs $50 for the taxi because he lost all his money in Vegas. So it seems like things are not going well for Colonel Parker.
I like it because he's doing the whole hot and bothered thing, like the old country, West, like the old country lawyer, like hot and bothered is hilarious.
So then we go back to the in-ring action. We have Brian Pillman versus Eddie Guerrero. During this match, it gets very interesting. Pillman, again, loose cannon. He grabs at Bobby Heenan at one point, and Heenan, clear as day, says, so this was not planned. Heenan had a neck injury, and he didn't want anyone touching him. I'm assuming this is unscripted because it seems like Bobby Heenan is not playing around.
No. It wasn't planned because I watched or I read a Eric Bischoff interview about this, and he said that Heenan was really sorry about the swearing. Throughout the rest of this show, anytime the action spilled out of the ring and got near the announcers, he would leave, walk away. They shouldn't have placed the announce booth right there anyway, you know?
Yeah, I've been meaning to mention, I hate where they put the WCW announcers. I hate
they
it.
Do it because they didn't have monitors, but eventually they do get the monitors and then the back. I think that's why. That's the only reason I can see why you have them that close.
Boomers. Brian Pillman wins this match after grabbing the tights for the win. Eddie Guerrero hasn't lost many matches, so I was kind of surprised to see him lose a match. But they are building the Horsemen above that. So, and he cheated, so it wasn't like Eddie Guerrero lost much.
To this point, had lost a ton of matches. Like he was 3-9.
Yeah, he needed a win. They needed to build him and the Horsemen, so that's fine. After that match, we have a ramp interview with Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and Kevin Green. Hogan says he would love to see the Horsemen try to sneak up on them or have the Dungeon of Doom try to interfere with their match with Kevin Green around. Savage hypes up Kevin Green. Pretty generic promo from both men there. Green hits us with a Macho Man, oh yeah, and he says the Steelers will win the Super Bowl, which they did not. So the next match we have is Blue Bloods versus Lex Luger and Sting for the WCW titles. I'll just get to the end. Sting and Lex Luger win when Sting hits the Scorpion Deathlock on Earl of Eaton, so they retain their titles. And then we go back to see Mean Gene at the chapel. Colonel Parker is in bad straits now, but Sherry has finally arrived, and Parker tells Sherry that he is on his last dollar, which upsets Sherry because Sherry didn't know the Colonel gambled. They both argue, and it looks like the in-chapel wedding is off because she is told she can't dress in the chapel, and she starts screaming, and things are going south really fast. And then we'll go to the interview with Brian Pillman. Pillman tells Bischoff that he should be nervous because it's live TV, and asks Bischoff what would happen if he says the 7 words you can't say on TV. So he's crazy. Pillman says Orndorff wants to talk about respect. He says respect is what pumps the Horsemen's black hearts. And he tells him that he's Brian Pillman and don't ever forget it.
So Sullivan is mad with greed.
Pillman's problems with Dungeon of Doom, even though Arn told him not to. Looks like it's going to continue. And then our next match is for the Mexican Heavyweight Championship. It is Psychosis versus Conan. Conan is the champion coming out. During this match, they mention the billionaire Ted skits, and I think they mentioned something about legal action being taken place.
Yeah, I think that's why they stopped. Honestly, I think it was legal action, and I think the network told them to stop.
Probably. But yeah, WCW legitimately in real life did sue the WWF for those skits or a cease and desist. So for this match, Conan wins. He wins with a finish called the Ziplock.
Submission. It's kind of like a standing figure 4.
It's interesting. But not much storyline here, since this is also for a title that's not even a WCW title, really. And also, what I read that Conan won this title from the other promotion he was in, and he didn't get the title back, which is why he still has it here.
Dang.
Because I thought maybe he was going back there to wrestle people for, going back and forth between promotions and doing it, but apparently not. I think he's full-time WCW at this point.
Huh, that is interesting. I thought it was like a showcase or something.
But after that match, we go back to Mean Gene at the chapel. Sherry is changing in the car. Colonel Parker is still begging for money.
He asked Mean Gene earlier for 50, now he says 30.
He's trying to pocket a 20, huh?
Mm-hmm. And then he also asked Sherry for $30. Mean Gene, though, he does ask Parker if he could give Sherry away at the wedding.
And so Mean Gene will walk Sister Sherry down the aisle. Due to financial reasons, we are now having a drive-through wedding, and we get to the actual wedding part of it, and then Medusa comes out and slaps Sherry. She came out of Colonel Parker's trailer, and then Sherry and Medusa tussle with each other until they are separated eventually.
So Medusa and Sherry had a different promotion. They had a little bit of rivalry. So I'm guessing that is why they did this, like kind of a rehash of that. But like, I mean, are we supposed to know that?
Even through this, they never explained why Medusa was coming out of Colonel Parker's trailer, why she had an issue with Sherry. It's hard to believe that this is what they chose to do with Medusa after her hot introduction.
Yeah, they absolutely botch what they do with her after the debut. Absolutely botch.
Red hot to start, and then again, this is the first time we've seen her since then, I believe.
I think so.
And this is what you do. So her having a feud with Colonel Parker and Sister Sherry.
It just shows how little they cared about the women of.
Yeah, I was like, it was just to stick it to McMahon. Seems to be the only motivation. Medusa, Alundra Blaze, was way ahead of her time. Unfortunately, she was in the era she was in and was treated this way because there was no other competition really outside of Japanese wrestlers. So unless she wrestled in Japan, really wasn't going to get any shine over here in the States at the time. But that is that for the wedding stuff. So now we're going to go into the main event, and it is the Giant and Ric Flair, who also has Jimmy Hart, versus Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and accompanied by Kevin Green, Miss Elizabeth, and a whole bunch of other women, including women, to the match. So Michael Buffer is here to do the announcements. One funny thing is during Hulk Hogan's entrance, they have a little bit of a video wall, we can see some moments from Hogan's career, and every bit of it is Hogan beating up Vader.
Yeah. You can tell they're mad. They're mad he left.
Yeah, so this is not an accident they chose to do that right after Vader had the hot angle the other week and him leaving WCW. So just love the little digs these two companies do at each other.
Yeah, Hogan does get a scoop slam on the Giant.
It's always noble when someone does it to the big guys. But later on, Savage hits the elbow drop, but Jimmy Hart distracts the ref, which allows Flair to get brass knucks and punches Macho Man for the win. And Kevin Green is yelling at the ref, telling him that Flair cheated. And then the Zodiac and Brian Pillman come out, but Hogan and Kevin Green throw them both out the ring as the faces check on Macho Man. And then Elizabeth raises Macho Man's hand as the crowd cheers. So nice little moment between Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. Their reunion seems to be going well, don't you think, Jacob?
So well. It's always great to see them together.
Always. But yes, the heels cheat to win. So this one, with it not being pay-per-view, you're not going to see the title changes and stuff like that typically on the Clash of Champions. But overall, I would say this episode of Clash of Champions was not that good to me.
It was pretty average. I mean, like the Clash of Champions, though, a lot of them were like pretty missable, honestly.
So now let's go into the final head-to-head, the fifth head-to-head of January. It's January 29th, 1996. We will start with Nitro. The first match for Nitro is Ric Flair with Jimmy Hart versus Hulk Hogan with a bunch of ladies, including Woman and Miss Elizabeth. This crowd here did seem to be a pro-Hogan crowd, more so than others.
Yeah, they seem to have like the Hulkster.
The only issue with this match is that Flair and Hogan have had this match a ton of times.
It's like Flair and Sting. It's always the matches are similar.
Because again, Hogan hits the leg drop on Flair, and Jimmy Hart jumps on the apron to distract the ref. Arn Anderson comes out once again. This is like the third time we've done this now. But instead of brass knucks, Arn Anderson takes off Miss Elizabeth's heel and gives it to Flair, who hits Hogan with it and gets the win. Hogan is selling the attack like his eye is gone. He has no eyeball anymore.
And he's actually bleeding. It's notable because Flair pinned Hogan.
And Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man come to check on Hogan, and then Hogan, like you said, is shown to be bleeding from his eye, which does play into the main event. We'll get there. But I'm not huge on being attacked by a heel, but I can see how being hit in the eyeball with a heel would hurt, obviously. But it just, I think aesthetically, that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
On TV. Not great with the finish, but Ric Flair does get the win. Because Flair, you're going to have to give Flair some wins if you're going to make this feud between Hogan, Macho Man, and the Horsemen mean something. So I'm fine with it, just not in love with the way they chose to get there. And I'm also tired of the leg drop distraction by Jimmy Hart. Arn Anderson comes out, gets involved. That's the third time now. That specific formula. At least change it up. Why couldn't Benoit? Why couldn't one of the other Pillman come out? Change it up a little bit.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
But all right, now we will go to Raw. WWF runs down tonight's events and says the billionaire Ted ad will air despite the threat of legal action. So it looks like WCW has taken notice of those ads and is not happy. So we will go to the first match, which is the British Bulldog with Jim Cornette versus Diesel. And even though Diesel is a heel, the crowd, or at least the majority of the crowd, still loves him. During this Bulldog and Diesel match, Yokozuna comes out before we go to a commercial break. During the match, Yokozuna hits Diesel while the Bulldog distracts the ref. So we're getting Camp Cornette involved here. Eventually, Yokozuna comes into the ring to leg drop Diesel as he is pinning Bulldog, but he misses and leg drops Bulldog, and Diesel gets the pin for the win. Yokozuna misses quite often and hits his partners with a lot of his moves.
I guess that's like just the easy way for Vince to get an opponent, like people to beat them.
So Diesel wins. So of course, he's still got momentum from his heel turn. After the match, we go to Doc Hendricks, who runs down the In Your House lineup, and then we go to a Bret Hart video where he says he thought Diesel was a great champion, but not anymore. He says the WWF does not run on Diesel power, it runs on Hart power, and they would settle their issues in a cage match. And he reminds us that he has never lost a cage match. And then Doc also announces for In Your House, we get Owen Hart for Shawn Michaels. And then we get to the much anticipated Razor Ramon versus 1-2-3 Kid. It's not going to be any match, though. This is a crybaby match.
They don't go over the rules quite yet for the crybaby match.
Nope. And then we also get announced Dumpster Droese versus Triple H. Because on the Saturday night show, we recap Triple H attacked Duke the Dumpster Droese with a trash can, and then he cut his hair.
I guess Droese in real life wanted to cut his hair, so they found the storyline reason for it.
So then we go to Vince talks about how TBS is threatening legal action. TBS is the parent company of Nitro. He says the WWF is ready to fight for the company and fans. And then they showed the billionaire Ted ad, which was him in a press conference saying, and he won't answer any of the hard-hitting questions that interviewers are asking him. They're really putting down that Ted Turner wants to monopolize the wrestling business. Yeah. And WWF is saying that it's not in the best interest of wrestling to have only one show because it's not in the best interest of fans. And essentially he's saying that Ted Turner wants to put Vince out of business. But it's funny because this is exactly what Vince did.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it's funny that Vince says this now, but then, like, of course, after WCW, he was totally fine.
Yeah, so I just love how Vince did this to try to win sympathy when it's the same stuff he was doing. So right, then we go to the second match of Nitro. Is the Faces of Fear, which is Ming and Barbarian versus the Road Warriors. A lot of meat slapping. The crowd loves the Road Warriors, of course. They get a big cheer when they come out. Yeah. Ming does power drive Hawk, but Hawk instantly gets right back up from it and hits a power slam on Ming. Most of this match was stiff, which is what you would expect. And Hawk goes up to the top rope and clotheslines Barbarian for the win. And afterwards, they say they are coming for the tag team titles. And then after that, we have an in-ring interview with the Taskmaster. He says he has a problem, and he thought Arn Anderson was a man of his word. Gene tries to tell Taskmaster that Arn has been the voice of reason. Sullivan is also upset that Ric Flair pinned Hogan because that is something the Dungeon of Doom have been trying for a while.
Get good.
Yeah, I'm just saying that sounds like a skill issue to me. Arn, Anderson, and Pillman come out while the Taskmaster is talking. Taskmaster tells Arn to discipline Pillman or else. And then Arn tells Pillman that Pillman is not an individual. He is part of the Horsemen. And he tells Pillman if he wants to continue with the Horsemen, he would teach him some tough love. And then he starts to take off his belt. I was like, oh, man. I was like, dude, come on. So Taskmaster hits Arn Anderson for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Taskmaster starts whipping on Pillman, though, because he gets control of the belt. Taskmaster wanted to get those whips in. That plays until later, the match later, I believe. And then Arn Anderson takes care of Hugh Morris and shoves Taskmaster away. Arn gets back on the mic, and he tells Gene he now sees where Sullivan stands, and if they have a problem, they would take care of it. And then he tells the WCW executives to give him a match with Taskmaster and Hugh Morris. And then Pillman tells Arn that he got him into his mess, but he will help Arn get out of it. So it seems like he's trying to get back in Arn's good graces.
Yeah, he's trying not to get hit with that belt. He saw he was about to get a whooping.
Yeah, he didn't want that. I can't blame him. I don't want that whooping either.
Nope. The only thing Arn has left to do is tell him to go pick out a switch.
Arn plays the father figure well, but we'll go to Raw. The second match for Raw is the Body Donnas with Sonny versus the Godwins.
And this is the debut of Phineas Godwin.
I hate Phineas. I hate it when he does that bucking thing. I actually can't stand it.
Phineas is terrible.
Phineas gets the win, and the Godwins dance with Sonny after the match before she runs away. Yay, the Godwins win. Cool. Told you folks, the tag team division at this point for WWF is very weak. Next week is announced that Bret Hart will take on The Undertaker. So that's a big match for next week.
Yes, star power.
Third match for WCW is Medusa versus Sister Sherry. But before that, we get an interview with Sister Sherry. As Gene is talking, we see Medusa go to the top rope and dive on Sherry as we start the match. Sister Sherry isn't exactly ring ready at this point. She's been a manager for years.
Yeah, she hasn't wrestled, or she rarely wrestled, and obviously her best days were behind her. This drove me nuts because WCW in all their glory, they actually had Sister Sherry reverse, I can't remember what maneuver it was, but she reversed it into a pin and actually wins the match and beats Medusa. Medusa gets into a rage after the match and hits a nasty German suplex on Sherry. This drove me nuts because Medusa is obviously the person who should have win. Because, are you going to push Sister Sherry in your women's division? No.
Yeah, it makes no sense. What they do with Medusa is a travesty, and honestly, it should be talked about more. People love to say that WWE botched Angel Blaze.
No one ever talks about how WCW screwed up Medusa. Like, I don't usually hear that.
It's horrendous. I mean, it's terrible, really. Yeah, Sister Sherry, there's just no benefit, like you said, of having Sister Sherry win this match. It builds nothing. You're trying to build Medusa, aren't you? Now you lost Sister Sherry, who hasn't wrestled a match in years, and so now me as a viewer would be like, okay, Medusa's overrated, she's not as good. It should have been pushing her to the moon, and they treated her like an absolute jobber, essentially.
Yeah. Awful.
Anyways, we'll go to Raw, where we have Clarence Mason and Jim Cornette video, where they are saying Vader's suspension is without merit. Mason says they have a good case for self-defense, and he has motions to quash the suspension. And then we have a graphic that shows where everyone can send their get-well wishes to Gorilla Monsoon. P.O. Box and everything.
I thought it was funny that they're keeping kayfabe alive that much.
But then after that, we get Vince in the ring, where he says anything can happen, and he brings back Roddy Piper to the WWF.
He brings it back to the interim GM to replace the now injured Gorilla Monsoon.
A big reaction to Roddy Piper, by the way. Vince asked him about the new generation of superstars. Piper says he sees a new generation of great athletes. They're faster, stronger, smarter, but says they are confused, and he intends to straighten them out. And I guess there was a government shutdown coming around this time, because he tells us there will be no government shutdown. And he brings out a paper of rules. And Vince says Roddy has never had any rules, and Roddy agrees with him and puts it back. And he tells everyone that they are in good hands with him. And then Piper, because Piper, he's a bit wacky, then he airplane spins Vince around twice.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder if that was called or if Piper just did that. Piper wouldn't care if Vince was mad.
Yeah, what are you going to do? He's only there for a short time. After that big announcement of Roddy Piper being back, we get another building block of the Attitude Era coming. We get a Mankind vignette where he's asking why is he the way that he is, and why is everyone afraid of him? He says he doesn't know why, and he tells us to have a nice day. We had the Ringmaster come up a few weeks ago. Now we get Mankind, both pivotal members of the Attitude Era. So we're starting to get there.
Starting to get some star power.
All right, now we're at the main event for both shows. Now we'll go to WCW, where it's the Giant versus Macho Man, and he's with Woman and Miss Elizabeth. This is a WCW Championship match. The Giant comes out alone, and when the match started, I knew this wasn't going to be a long match, because I saw when I was watching it, they only had 6 minutes left of TV time. Not going to be a long match. Savage comes through the crowd and hits the Giant in the back with the title a few times, and then gets him in a sleeper hold. But Ric Flair comes out, and the ref is calling for the bell, which means the match didn't happen. No match. Savage gets dragged out of the ring by Ric Flair, who then hits Savage with chair shots. And then the Giant pulls Savage back into the ring and hits a suplex. And both Flair and Giant beat on Savage. All right, so then Flair tells the Giant to chokeslam Savage, and the Giant obliges. As the Giant goes for a second chokeslam, Hulk Hogan comes out with a bandage over his eye because he's got hit with the high heel earlier. He comes out and hits the Giant in the head with the chair. And then the Dungeon of Doom come out, but Hogan clears them with ease. And Flair is incensed, and he goes to the announce table, and Flair tells him that he has beat him twice. He tells Hogan that Super Brawl there will be 2 cages. Then the Giant tells Hogan he will take his bones and make his bread. He tells Hogan his mind, body, and soul will be his. And then Flair tells Savage he will take everything from him. And he's not lying.
No,
he's not lying.
He's not lying.
There's a funny moment at the end. Like I said, Flair's at the announce table, and him and Mongo are getting into it. And then Mongo threatens Flair with Pepe.
Super Brawl! 2 cages! Come on!
And then Flair looks at Pepe like he will legitimately wrestle Pepe right now.
I think he would.
But Flair's doing a great job of being unhinged. I love when Flair gets to this level. He's just acting insane. And at Super Brawl, there'll be 2 cage matches. One between Hogan and the Giant, and the other between Macho Man and Ric Flair. Bobby Heenan is loving it. He's hyping Flair up as the show ends, because Heenan has always been a pro-Flair, anti-Hogan guy.
Even in WWF.
Again, this is another main event, WC title match that has no ending, really. So that is getting a little annoying. So we'll go to the main event on WWF, and it is Yokozuna with Jim Cornette versus Shawn Michaels. Shawn's going into full play for the crowd, because there's moments in this match where he has a headlock on Yokozuna. The ref tells him to let it go, and then he lets it go like really quick, then puts it back on, and he's just playing towards the crowd and fans like, I wasn't doing anything bad. But Owen Hart does come out during the match, and of course, while the rest distracted at that point, Owen Hart gets some licks in on Shawn Michaels. Now, since Yokozuna is normally the one who hits his tag partner, Owen Hart now is his turn. He goes to spin kick Shawn Michaels, but he misses, and he hits Yokozuna. This allows Shawn Michaels to hit Yokozuna with Sweet Chin Music for the win. Afterwards, Yokozuna's not happy, and he shoves Owen Hart, and the Bulldog comes down to kind of break it up. But they're starting to tease dissension in Team Cornette. Not everything's good over there. But then eventually the 3 men turn their attention to Shawn Michaels, and looks like they're going to jump him. But Diesel comes out, and Camp Cornette backs down, and Vince interviews Cornette to end the shows, and he says they're all working together like a Swiss watch. And he challenged them, Diesel and Shawn Michaels, to a tag team match. It looks like they'll have that match next week. And this show ends with like Diesel and Shawn Michaels mocking Cornette and doing like karate poses and stances. Just cool, dude. Just being cool. And that is that for Raw. Who do you think on that one?
WCW. I would say 1. The ratings would agree. It was 2.8 to 2.4 WCW.
You gave it to WCW? I think I'll get to WCW as well. I think the worst moment on both shows was the Medusa versus Sister Sherry thing. But I think WCW had an interesting beginning and end to their show. But yeah, I'll get WCW as well, which means both of us say that Nitro swept the month.
Yeah, 5-0. Yep.
But I think in real life, it was WWF 3-2.
Yep.
So sorry, WWE's hot right now to us. So, but thank you for watching that recap January. Some stuff's going to get a lot better from here, but we also got to get through some rough patches too, and you'll see when we get there. But thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and please let us know if you are watching along with us, or if you have done this before. Let us know what your thoughts were, or of any of the matches that we've discussed. Please let us know your thoughts and opinions on those. As always, I'm Max,
I'm Ben.
and let the discussions begin.